Sounds like my old 318 Plymouth.
I think we're good now, Mike. It says
There you
meeting
go.
is the, yeah.
That's good.
Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome, everyone. Glad you're here. It's now 6:30 and the March 22nd, 2021 City Cuyahoga Falls Council meeting is now called to order. Ms. Capriola, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Balthus,
Here.
Mr. Brillhart,
Here.
Mr. Gorbach,
Here.
Mr. Ayula,
Here.
Mr. James,
Here.
Ms. Loza,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Ms. Nichols Rhodes,
Here.
Mrs. Penta,
Here.
Mrs. Spinner,
Here.
Mr. Stams.
Here.
Let the record show that everyone is present. We will now have the invocation by Mrs. Spinner.
Thank you. Dear God, we are blessed to be here today and thankful for the spring with all the possibilities it brings for new growth and rejuvenation. Thank you for the opportunity to be engaged and involved in the matters that affect family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues in our community. For all this we pray, amen.
Amen. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
flag
of
the United
States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
All right, before you should have the minutes from the March 8th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, they'll stand as written. Ms. Capriola, do we have any petitions, claims, or communications?
Yes, Mr. President. We have a notice from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control regarding new permit number 00-42875 to Achara USA LLC, doing business as Naviga Convenience Store, 1205 Northmoreland Boulevard, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, 44221. We also have a notice from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control regarding new permit number 0005457 to A Plus Crab Inc., 738-744 Howe Avenue, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, 44221.
Thank you. Any other communications?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. We have no new ordinances or resolutions for tonight, and we have no public hearings, reports of special committees. So we'll move right to the reports of council standing committees. Planning and zoning, Mrs. Spinner.
No report this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you. Finance and appropriations, Mr. Gorbach.
Yes, Mr. Brillhart, we have one item to vote on this evening. That's temporary ordinance B11.
Temporary ordinance B11, presented by the administration, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contractor contracts according to law for the Summit DD Front Street parking expansion and declaring an emergency.
The Finance Committee voted in favor of bringing this ordinance out for a vote this evening, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Are there any remarks?
Other just maybe to repeat what was said a week ago, but I think all of council is very excited about this and the project and the synergy that it's going to allow downtown, and I'm definitely in favor of it.
Question.
Question has been called. We have a motion to approve temporary ordinance B11 by Mr. Gorbach, seconded by Mr. Ayula. All those in favor of the temporary ordinance, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously 11-0.
And that concludes our report.
Thank you, Mr. Gorbach. Public and industrial improvements, Ms. Nichols Rhodes.
I'm sorry, no report this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you. Public affairs, Mr. Balthus.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one piece of legislation to consider this evening, temporary resolution B12.
Temporary resolution B12, presented by the administration. A resolution supporting West Creek Conservancy's Clean Ohio Green Space Round 15 grant application for the Merriman Valley by the city of Cuyahoga Falls and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, the Public Affairs Committee is in favor of temporary resolution B12, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion to approve temporary resolution B12 by Mr. Balthus with a second by Mr. Miller. Any remarks?
I have none.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor of approving temporary resolution B12, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously 11-0.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes our report.
Thank you, Mr. Balthus. Community Development, Mrs. Penta.
Yes, Mr. President. Tonight we have one item to consider. It's temporary ordinance B13.
Temporary ordinance B13, presented by the administration. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement with FAR Associates for the preparation of a study and master plan for the Merriman Valley and Schumacher planning areas in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Akron for the reimbursement of costs pertaining thereto, making necessary appropriations for the same, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, the Community Development Committee is in favor of B13, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion made by Mrs. Penta to approve temporary ordinance B13 with a second by Ms. Loza. Are there any remarks?
Yes, I have two remarks. One is, again, this is wonderful that both cities are coming together. And I think the residents, as we saw from our committee meeting, were on board with this. The only way it can be successful is if everyone joins in the conversation. And two, I'd like to point out that this is the last council meeting for Mr. Guerra, who has been with the city for many years, and his knowledge, his patience, his clarification on anything that I had with design, historical review board, or community development, anything has always been an open door with him. So this is his last council meeting. So I just wanted to point that out, that he will be missed for his wisdom that he had here. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone this evening. And other than that, I have no other remarks.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Mr. President, I
Yes.
would like to also congratulate Mr. Guerra on his service to the city of Cuyahoga Falls. And I think he's done a wonderful job being an advocate for the city of Cuyahoga Falls. So I'd just like to say congratulations, Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Mr. Balthus?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to make it clear to Fred that we expect him to still be involved as a resident in the planning process going into the into the valley. I hope to see you at all the meetings, Fred. We appreciate all your service to the city over the years.
Thank you. I will try to make the meetings
Thank you.
if I'm in town.
I understand.
Mr. James?
Thank you, Mr. President. Fred, I just want to say over this last decade that we've been together, it's been a pleasure working with you. You were always very dependable. You always got back to me whenever there was anything on my mind. You've been a stellar representative for the city. The Planning and Zoning Committee and the Planning Commission is going to sorely miss you, I'm sure, along with the rest of us. And I wish you Godspeed and everything good for your retirement.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Ayula?
Fred, I'd like to also thank you for all your service. And by the way, I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals first, and I got to know you there. And you were a heck of a lot easier to understand than Peter was. Thanks a lot.
Peter taught me a lot. I learned a lot from Peter. Thank you.
Any other comments? I would like to say,
Oh, sorry.
I would like to say too, Fred, I've really appreciated everything that you've done. And there's many, many times, first thing in the morning, I'd call you. And of course, I'd always say, well, your day can only get better when your first call is from me. Yeah, I really have appreciated everything. And we know that your heart is with the city of Cuyahoga Falls and all the residents. And it has been magnificent getting to know you, and your service to the city is just absolutely magnificent, and you will be sorely missed.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr.
Question.
Mr. Gorbach.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to wait till miscellaneous business, but I thought after all these accolades, Fred might log out right after we vote on this. But Fred and I chatted a little bit yesterday about something and talked a little bit about his retirement. And there's a lot of history walking out with you, buddy, and it's going to be tough. I know Diane has probably been picking your brain for the last 6 months trying to document everything. It's just astounding whenever we talk about something or go over a plan, and you'll say, well, back in 12 years ago we did this and that. So you've got a lot stored up there. So you probably could earn a little bit of a consulting money down the road, I'm sure. So, and I think I told you yesterday, yeah, I don't see you letting the grass grow under your feet. I know you're going to be busy doing something. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Back to temporary ordinance B13, a motion made by Mrs. Penta to approve with a second by Ms. Loza. And has the question been called?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of temporary ordinance B13, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously, 11-0.
And that concludes the community development. I wanted to make sure I got my remarks in before he snuck out there. So
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Penta. All right, announcement of council committee meetings. We will not have a meeting on the 29th because it's the 5th Monday. And since there is no new business at this to being introduced tonight, all 5 committees will be subject to call for a potential meeting on April the 5th. Do we have any other miscellaneous business to come before council? Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I sent out report 21 earlier today. I didn't realize it was the last meeting of the month till a little bit earlier because we do have that 5th meeting. So I apologize for that. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I'd be happy to try to answer anything you have. Under report 21, the city is continuing similarly to last month. Not too many surprises here. Under the property tax revenues, we are anticipating a slight increase. We did get I think I said this last month, we got a revised estimate from our fiscal office that would show at least 10% increase to that number this year. So that's been good. We still have a couple of questions regarding admissions tax this summer. Blossom I haven't heard too much about shows out there yet. So that's a big question mark. And we did budget for a full season out there. Under our local government fund under the county and the state of Ohio, that is trending to hit our mark and the same mark or close to it that we had in 2020. So that's another bright spot. Under the interest number, we're continuing to see interest come in at what we anticipated. We anticipated about $370,000 this year, which is far below what we even saw in 2019. And so, as I've mentioned in the past, but that's number's been similar. We have seen signs of light on our income tax numbers. as we've gone through 2021 so far. So that's been a bright spot. It hasn't come back completely yet, but withholding tax has been pretty strong. And so that's been a really good sign. And as we continue on 2021 and see things open up, we anticipate and hopefully see even better numbers throughout this year. So I've been really happy to see that. On the expense side of things in the general fund, it's exactly the way we anticipated at this point in time. It's hard to find a lot of trends this early in the year, but we are spending at the same rate that we anticipate. So far on our enterprise funds, we have not seen a huge reduction in income coming in from billed amounts, and so that's been another bright spot. And that that's one of the things that we do worry about when we have economic issues going on is individuals not able to pay or become delinquent. So we have not seen that happen at any great extent. And then the other area that we've reported on in the past, and this is the biggest concern, is our leisure time fund. Our natatorium still continues to see yearly memberships decrease, but we have seen some of the daily activity start to increase. So that number I do anticipate will be down for the year for 2021. And we are just going to continue to do what we can to open up programming and try to get people to use the natatorium. And hopefully as the vaccine rollout continues to expand and people will become vaccinated, people will feel safe in the natatorium, and we'll be able to see these numbers improve over the year. The other facilities in the Park and Rec departments, at this point in time, are really hard to gauge how they're going to do. They're weather dependent, and we would see just some yearly passes, I guess, but not much activity at this point in time. We continue to monitor the leisure time closely and try to do what we can on the expense side where we can. The issue, especially in the natatorium, is it's a large fixed asset that has a lot of fixed expenses, and it's difficult. But on the personal services side, we have decreased as we can any part-time labor that we have working at the natatorium to try to keep those expenses in line. On the self-insurance side of expenses, we continue to see reductions in our expenses on self-insurance. I think in January and February, especially with COVID cases that were pretty high during the Christmas and just past Christmas season, those surgeries, elective surgeries, still did not happen, and those expenses are still trending, or at least stabilizing, but stabilizing far below what we have seen in recent years. So we'll continue to monitor that throughout the year, and hopefully if we continue to see less expense, we will give premium holidays this year. If those start to tick up and we can't do that, that's what we're trying to match revenue and expenses in that fund. So we're trying to keep our premiums at a level of what we anticipate our expenses. Other than that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions anyone may have regarding City Report 21.
Any questions for Mr. Hoffman? Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Hoffman, I just had a question. Have you received any indication how the American Rescue Plan is going to impact our budget?
The direct payments to the city, we have received the estimated allocation of about $16.7 million. We are still going over how we can spend those dollars. We've gotten some bullet points on how we can spend those, but not detailed guidance. And it's usually in that detailed guidance is when you really start to put together better plans on how we're going to spend that. So we keep in touch with our counterparts in other communities. We keep in touch with other city organizations, as League of Cities, and also at the county, to make sure that the information's flowing from Department of Treasury or whoever the department is who has these funds that are, giving out in either that allocation or any other grants that may be coming through that large bill. One of the bright spots, direct payments, I think we saw in 2020. Direct payments, I think, really helped especially our enterprise funds, so that the residents of the city had some money to pay for their utility bills. And I think that is one reason why we didn't see the delinquencies that we thought we were going to see in 2020. So, directly and indirectly, I think that this bill will help the city's finances overall.
Any other questions for Mr. Hoffman? Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Any other business to come before council?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Oh, if I could, Fred is still here, so I want to say a few words. I know you get to work with him maybe once a week or every few weeks. I get to see him pretty much every day. And I'll let you know that once the downtown started taking shape, it was almost like magical around here. There was a lot of interest, and as you know, the momentum has really grown, but he's put in a lot of long hours, as we all do. But Fred, I just want to thank you, because you should be really proud of how that's turned out down there. And a lot of that was because of you. So thanks for your service.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. President,
Yes.
thank you. Fred, I just want you to know I tricked you into being here tonight by saying you had to be questions about the master plan. I knew there weren't going to be questions about the master plan. I figured this would be your last opportunity to be here. So I too have appreciated working with you along your side as your colleague and as on the other side when I was on city council. So do you have any last words of wisdom before you leave us? You've only got a few days here. I sure hope everybody has been paying attention to how planning is done, because if you are interested in taking Fred's place, we need someone with that level and depth of experience. And maybe this is the first go-to place to replace him, because you all have seen his work firsthand for a very long time as well. So what do you have to say to us, Fred?
I've enjoyed most of the things I've done in planning. There's been some meetings that I wouldn't want to repeat again, but I've enjoyed my work, and that's the biggest thing is enjoying what you do, looking at projects, starting it from the ground level and seeing them actually come about to happen, like the downtown or historic preservation. So again, I've enjoyed it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do after this. I'm going to take a little bit of time off, I think, and figure out whether I want to do anything or maybe do some consulting. I don't know yet. We'll see what I feel like. We'll see. After my wife will probably get tired of me being around and doing things that's getting in her way and everything. So, but I don't know. I'm going to still try to do some things, stay active, and I haven't decided what yet. So I appreciate all your congratulations, and enjoyed my time here and prior to that. And it really went quick. I think when I started here in 2002, I know Tim was on council, Jerry was on council, Tony was on here at the city, and I'm trying to think of who else was here at this meeting. Oh, the mayor was on council. Yeah. So, and I think I got to know a lot of the council people when we did those charrettes, where we had the council people sort of lead the way. And I got to know council very good after we started that in 2004, and I started in 2002. So I think that's in doing our code was a big accomplishment for all of us. We had a code that was 50 years old from 2 different communities. And I think that helped us grow over the years. So thank you again. And you'll probably see me around someplace in town. Thanks.
We sure hope so. And as you all know, you're invited to his retirement party in the CD offices on the 31st at noon. We'll have cake and a couple other surprises for Fred. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Calvecchio. Any other business to come before council?
Move to adjourn.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. We are adjourned. Have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you.
Good night,
Night.
everybody.
See you next month.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.